Hello and welcome to the Underhive. We are back with some more How to Command the Death Guard. In this series, we're going to take a look at every aspect of the Death Guard, so whether you're looking to get more out of your army, or you're thinking of dipping a toe into Nurgle's crusty cauldron, then there's something here for you. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the combat patrol box for the Death Guard. Nearly said detachment there. So let's dive in and take a look at what we get in this box. So to begin with, the recommended retail price for this box is £90 in the UK. So of course your mileage may vary given the exchange rate, etc. if you're in another country, but that's going to be what, $110, $120, something like that. So that is if you buy it directly from Games Workshop, but there are a lot of retailers out there that are registered retailers of Games Workshop products that can offer you that at a discount, anywhere up to sort of 10-15% off that price. So of course I would encourage you to shop around and get the best deal for you, but ultimately the recommended retail price is £90. In that box you will get 1 Typhus, 1 Biologous Putrefier, 7 Plague Marines and 30 Poxwalkers. So the most glaringly obvious mistake to me about this box is that it isn't legal to run more squads of Poxwalkers than you have squads of core Death Guard infantry. The only core Death Guard infantry in this list is the Plague Marines. You got 1 squad of them, therefore you can only have 1 squad of Poxwalkers as per the rules in the Codex. Now, in a patrol game, I will say, 500-point game is almost always going to be a casual game. So if somebody wanted to play me and they were bringing this box as a 500-point list, I would let them play it. I would have no problem with that at all. But rules as written, you're not actually allowed to do that. So whoever put this box together either hadn't read the Death Guard Codex or did it last minute on a Friday night before they went home for the weekend. So I don't think that was a very smart thing to do overall from James Workshop. But either way, Typhus in the box there. Typhus is a really good character, I think, to have for a new player. First and foremost, he's a massive beat stick and he's hella durable. So you are going to get to play with him in the game. Obviously, he's a character, so if he's near one of the squads, he is protected by Lookout Sir until they've been chipped down to fewer than 3 models. But ultimately, he's very, very durable himself. He's got a great save and an invuln. So whether they're firing small arms or anti-tank fire at him, he's still got a chance to just shrug that off. The other side to that is as well, he's got command phase ability, so that's teaching you to use the command phase ability when relevant, to check those sorts of things before you just get on with your movement. He's also a Psyker, so you've got something to do in the Psychic phase, you've got to deny if your opponent's a Psychic army, so it's just got a bit of everything by having Typhus as the HQ. The Biologous Putrefier has a buff for core infantry, so that can go on the Plague Marines, allowing them to dish out some mortal wounds. He also gives them Hyper Blight grenades, so you can use the Blightening stratagem. Not a stratagem that's overly powerful unless the Putrefier's there, so it's prompting you to take a look at your stratagems and get some used. There's the 7 Plague Marines, so you're going to have the ability to build some with, like one with the flail, one with the cleaver, and get some of those upgrades in the list, which are now free. And then the 30 Poxwalkers, the issue being you shouldn't be able to run 2 squads, but fine, you can. So you wouldn't be able to chuck all of it in a list at 500 points. If you were taking Typhus, the Putrefier, and the 7 Plague Marines, you wouldn't get all 30 Poxwalkers in. You would get 24 of them in. So you could have a 14 and a squad of 10. That'd be fine. So that comes to 497. You could cut down the Plague Marines to 5 and then maybe slap a Deadly Pathogen on the Putrefier and get you that bit closer to the 500. But ultimately, I don't think it's bad value, even if you're not using it as just a combat patrol list. I think it is a great place to start with the army, because Plague Marines and Poxwalkers are in most lists. They're not in every list, don't get me wrong, particularly skew lists like that Epidemius one that won a tournament not so long ago. I can't imagine that's going to stay around for too much longer anyway as a strategy. I imagine it will change to some extent when the Demon's Codex drops. But as a result, Poxwalkers and Plague Marines in lists will be more and more common, particularly because the Plague Marines saw a buff and the Poxwalkers saw a decrease in points cost. So just as a box to sort of start off your collection, not specifically to pay as a 500 point list, I think is a really good place to start. All the models in it are reasonable picks for a list. Probably the most questionable is the Biologus Putrefier, but there's nothing wrong with chucking him in. As we mentioned in a previous combo video, he lines up really well with a squad of 5 Death Shroud to take out pretty much anything between the damage they put out and the mortal wounds they can inflict as a result of the Putrefier. But as we've said there, you can use him alongside the Plague Marines for his Hyper Blight Grenades, as well as the mortal wounds on top. So for a new player perspective, I think it's great value. I don't think you can go wrong starting here, but I would argue you're probably going to want to buy some extra models on top to actually get to an incursion level at 1,000 points. And given where you're starting off, it means you can do that by buying elites. You have got enough units of troops here to fill out a battalion. So you can have, say, your 5 Plague Marines, 5 of the 7 you've got there, break the Poxwalkers down however you want into 2 squads. So you can have a 10 and a 20 or 2 15s, whatever you like. And then you could slip in a squad of Terminators, whether the Blight Lords or Death Shroud, and that would make it legal to run the 2 squads of Poxwalkers in there because you've now got 2 squads of core infantry. And then from there, you could slap in another couple of characters, maybe a demon engine, whatever you like. You're up to an incursion game, and you can actually play a game of Nephilim rather than just like a casual open game. So I think if that's the plan, this is probably the best place to start because it offers you the units that you're going to need for that bedrock of your army, the troop slot, at a discount. If you are buying the Poxwalkers on their own, that's going to come to roughly 60 quid, even if you're buying them from the same sort of place that will offer you that discount. So to be able to get all the rest on top for another 15, 20 quid is really, really good value in my opinion. As a player that already has an army, I still think the patrol box is a good place to be because Poxwalkers are something that you might not want to run loads in every list that you play, but you're probably going to want to run between 10 and 50 of them in any given list. So to be able to pick up another 30 and that's it, you're probably set for any list you want to run, is a nice place to be. If you don't already have Typhus and the Putrefier, then adding those to your collection is nice. You may want to run them from time to time. And having more Plague Marines, particularly if you've been collecting for a while, you might have done what I did and built them all as knives and bolters because that was the way you used to run Plague Marines because the upgrades were expensive. Now that they're free, having another squad there that you can have with the flail and the cleaver and whatever else you want to build them as is at least a nice option to have in there as well. If you do already have a Typhus or don't want him, same goes with the Putrefier. You can just build them up and sell them as unpainted built models, and you will recoup a bit of the money. Most people will be willing to pay a little bit less than the going rate as RRP for a built model. I've certainly seen things like that go on eBay for, just under the recommended retail price, just for the fact that the person buying it doesn't need to actually build it, saves them a bit of time. If you're into 40k as a hobby, just the painting, the building, you like doing that, and particularly if you've got a level of skill in painting, I will admit I'm not a brilliant painter, but I sit there and spend the time doing it little bit by little bit. Other people can certainly get the result I would in a fraction of the time. If you can do that and you enjoy it is the important thing, then you could build the Typhus, build the Putrefier, get them painted up to the best standard you can, and then sell them, and you will probably recoup the money. I think if somebody had painted up a good Putrefier, I'd probably be willing to pay 30, 40 quid for it if I wanted one, because that time that I would save is definitely worth the difference in RRP to me, because it would take me hours to paint a Putrefier to a reasonable standard, because like I say, I'm not very good, I have to go slowly. So if you like it for the hobby and you just want to paint up some more models, you can definitely make a profit on this box for your time investment, even if you keep in some of the models. So as an existing player and collector, I think it's still a really good place to be. The biggest downside for me is just that whoever put the list together completely slept on the Death Guard rules. If I was building this box as James Workshop and I was trying to make sure that it sold to maximize my profits, I would probably have gone with one Malignant Plaguecaster, one Foul Blight Spawn, 10 Plague Marines, and 20 Poxwalkers. That, if you upgrade the Foul Blight Spawn with the Viscous Death for the additional 5 points to Deadly Pathogen, which you almost always do if you're taking the Blight Spawn, that would come to 495. It's quite hard to hit exactly 500 points with that now, but 495 I think is close enough, and you've definitely got a strong 500 points there. The Malignant Plaguecaster is still a caster, at least, so you're getting something to do in the Psychic phase, though you wouldn't have anything to do in the Command phase. On one hand, that's a negative, because if you are new to the game, it's not teaching you to review things in the Command phase. You're just sort of getting on with your movement straight away. But on the other hand, that's one less thing you could forget and have to go back and go, oh yeah, I forgot to do that. Will you let me have it? We're in the shooting phase now, but I should have done Typhus's ability in the command phase. He was in range. And again, in a casual game, I'd have no problem letting the opponent go back and do that. That's the point of a casual game. But I think having something like the Malignant Plaguecaster in there just removes that confusion and lets that be something to learn later down the line. The Foul Blight Spawn is a fantastic character, very, very strong, in my opinion, the single strongest vetted variant. I run him in lists now fairly consistently. It would only be if it was like trying to go away from like a main line where he's going to hold and make something fight last. So having him in a list, I think, would help the box sell, because the amount of Poxwalkers in it now being 30, I think is good. But I think it would still be enough Poxwalkers if there was 20 in there. And the important thing about the Plague Marines is that a squad of 7 is kind of neither here nor there. Firstly, it leaves you on an odd point total. There are no other units in the Codex that will leave you on an odd point total except Chaos Spawn. And I mean, some people like Chaos Spawn. I don't particularly like them. Whenever I've come up against them, I've just never seen them as a threat. I've just shot them off the board, and that's been that. If you get unlucky with them and, you leave them alive, sure, they can do something back to you, but I just don't see them as that valuable a piece in the army. But again, some people like them. I'm not saying they're wrong for that. But I think, unless you're actually giving somebody a Chaos Spawn as well to round out the point total, I think offering somebody 7 Plague Marines is a bit meh. Yeah, of course, you can just run 5 of them. You don't have to run them all. But I think giving you a squad of 10 and the option to just run 5, or, an odd number if you want to, would be better, because a squad of 10 is a nice place to start for somebody, because you can get your champion fully upgraded, 2 flails, 2 cleavers, 2 blight launchers, and then a bit of whatever else you want. Obviously, you don't have to kit them out that way, but I feel like that's probably the way most people do, prioritizing flails, cleavers, and launchers. And then, of course, as we've said, 20 Poxwalkers, I don't think you can go wrong with, because they're worth about 40 quid on their own anyway. So for me, that's the way I'd have done the Combat Patrol box. I don't disagree with it as it is, but I do think the fact that Typhus is in it, and the fact that probably you've already got a Typhus if you wanted one, is a reason that you might not look towards buying this if you're an experienced player, and you may be more incentivized to just like go on eBay and buy a job lot that comes with 20 Poxwalkers and a load of other tat that you don't need, if you can get a good deal on that. So yeah, overall, I don't think it's a bad place to start, and I don't think it's a bad place to be if you're already collecting the army. There's certainly means to get your money back on the box with just painting up 1 or 2 of the characters and selling them on separately. But otherwise, I think they could have done better with it. I just think the fact that it's forcing you to break a rule to run the box at 500 points is a weird place to be. I don't think that was intentional. And if it is, it's a really weird thing to have intended. But besides that, I think it's good value, and it's probably one of the better Combat Patrol boxes out there, in my opinion, for the armies that I know well enough to have an opinion on, at least. Well, that's everything for me. Let me know what you think. Do you like the idea of the Combat Patrol box? Are you a new player? Are you an experienced player? Would you consider it either way? I'm not touting, I'm not going to try and push one on you either way around, but I am interested in your opinion. So thank you to those of you that do get involved in the comments. It really means a lot to me. You know it helps me out. You know how YouTube works. But I want to let you know, it really does mean a lot that you take the time to do that. I always love reading and getting involved with the comments. So thank you for that. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time in the Underhive.